All right, what up everybody? This is Andrew Mahone here to talk about my 7th place North American Intercontinental Championship Zoroark Drampa deck. Gonna be running you guys through the list, talk about, what made my list unique and the kinds of cards that I'm playing in it. So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started here with the Zoroarks. We play a 4-4-2 Zoroark break line. So, Zoroark is our main attacker in this deck, obviously very good for its Mind Jack attack, which does more damage for the amount of bench Pokemon that the opponent has. Really easy to access attack because of that double colorless cost, so we just use double colorless energy to pay for the attack. Zoroark Break is an awesome attacker in its own right as well, considering that it's only worth 1 prize card, and can use this Foul Play attack, which copies one of the opponent's attacks as its very own. Also has 140 hit points, which is a nice hit point upgrade. Not to be underrated is Zorua's Moonless Madness attack, which you can see that I play 4 of the same Zorua. Some people mess around with playing one of the other Zoruas, but I like 4 of the Moonless Madness Zoruas because the option to confuse your opponent is another really good option to have in-game as well if you find yourself in a tight spot. Up next, we have our other cast. We have 2 Tapu Lele, 2 Drampa-GX, an Oranguru, an Oricorio, Turtonator-GX, something that makes my list very unique, and a Shaymin-EX. So let's go ahead and talk about why these cards are here. Tapu Lele-GX, obviously great for its Wonder Tag ability, but not to be underestimated as an attacker in its own right. Wonder Tag allows you to grab a supporter of choice when you play Tapu Lele from your hand to your bench, but it's also useful for its Energy Drive attack, which doesn't take weakness and resistance into consideration, so it's even good against hitting against things like your Umbreon GX and even your Zoroarks and things like that, because it doesn't take resistance into account. Oddly enough, it also does have this Tapu Cure GX, which you wouldn't think that a Zoroark Drampa deck would use, but I do play 1 copy of Rainbow Energy in here, so I do have access to that Tapu Cure GX attack as well. So Tapu Lele is just a great consistency card, as well as Shaymin-EX. Now, not a lot of decks are playing Shaymin-EX anymore. It's been considered more of a liability because of its frail 110 hit points, but Shaymin-EX is still a very good card for a turn if you would like to draw aggressively with its setup ability. Drampa-GX is kind of your meat of the deck with its 180 hit points, gives the deck some nice stability and early consistency with its Big Wheel GX attack. This is the GX attack that I used the most throughout the course of the tournament. Also great for its Righteous Edge attack, which does 20 damage and discards special energy from the opponent's defending Pokemon, and Berserk attack. This whole deck is kind of based around that Berserk attack, just being able to fire off, 80 plus 70 damage, 150 plus 30 with the Choice Band, 180 damage, just perfect numbers to knock out opposing Pokemon GX. We have Turtonator here, which is a unique inclusion for my list just before its Shell Trap attack, which only does 20 damage, but it threatens the opponent. If they attack it the following turn, they take 8 damage counters. This is really good against Drampa and early Drampa. Doesn't want to hit it with Righteous Edge. Espeon GX doesn't want to confuse it with Psybeam. It's also great against Fire Weak Pokemon like Decidueye, Metagross GX. Just a really nice beefy wall to have in your deck while you set up your Zoroarks. We have Oranguru here for its Instruct ability, though I will say that I have used Oranguru's Psychic attack as well. Sometimes in a pinch, if you need a backup attacker and you don't have anybody else on the bench, you can put a Darkness Energy onto your Oranguru, then the following turn it's ready to attack with Psychic, which does 60 plus 20 more for each of the energies on the defending Pokemon. Instruct, however, is the real reason it's here. It allows you to fill your hand to 3 cards once per turn. So if you do get end to low, if you only have 1 or 2 prizes remaining, you can use Instruct to help draw you out of those messy situations. And then finally, Oricorio rounds out the Pokemon cast. Has this awesome attack, Supernatural Dance, which does allows you to place 10 damage or 1 damage counter for each of the Pokemon in the opponent's discard pile. So it's really good against decks like Vespiquen that try to discard as many Pokemon as possible. Not to be underestimated though is its Revelation Dance attack, which does 30 damage, just requires that there be a stadium in play. However, if you put a Choice Band on that Pokemon, you can do 60 damage to a GX or 120 damage to a Psychic Weak GX like Espeon-GX, right? So it's really good against Espeon-GX, and I definitely got in there and used Revelation Dance against Espeon-GX in some of my matchups, and that was very useful. Up next, we have the supporter count. We have pretty traditional supporters in this deck. We have 4 copies of Professor Sycamore, 3 copies of N. You can see that I like to play different arts because I like all these different arts of N. One of my friends pointed out to me that I should have been playing all 3 copies of the Zorua N because it's got Zorua in it. I'm playing Zoroark, so that makes sense. Brigette is your best supporter for the first turn of the game. We have Professor Kukui, Hex Maniac, my full art teammates, 2 copies of Lysandre, and that rounds out the supporters. And you guys can see I'm a little rough on my cards. You see that damage to the teammates up front there. This teammates has seen quite a bit. This is the same teammates I used. I've been using for the last year and a half, so it's seen a few things. I used it to play Night March all of last year. However, teammates is a real star of this deck. Whenever a Pokemon gets knocked out, I can use teammates to go grab a double Colorless energy and another Zoroark to keep streaming attackers. So teammates is very useful. Hex Maniac was useful against Decidueye decks like Volcanion as well, just ability-based decks that can pile on extra damage if they get to use their abilities. Hex Maniac helps to shut that off. Professor Kukui was the card that almost won me my top 8 match against Sam Chen. This allows you to do 20 extra damage, which can be useful, especially with things like Turtonator. There was one turn where I did 140 damage to a Decidueye GX to knock it out with Turtonator's Shell Trap. My opponent promptly scooped up their cards and went to the next game, as they were not expecting Turtonator to do 140 damage. Brigette allows you to search your deck for 3 basic Pokemon and put them onto the bench. Really great for setting up Zoruas. 2 copies of Lysandre, your 3N, your 4 Sycamore, pretty standard stuff. As far as the items go, got 4 copies of Ultra Ball, allow us to search out our Pokemon. 4 versus Seeker allows us to search our discard for a supporter card and retrieve it. 2 Rescue Stretcher, which has been amazing for just streaming Zoroarks and Zoroark breaks and getting those back into the deck or back into the hand. 1 Special Charge and 4 Choice Band, 2 Float Stone, and 2 copies of Team Magma Secret Base. Team Magma Secret Base puts damage on your non-Magma Pokemon when they're played from your hand to your bench. So it does damage your own Pokemon, it also damages your opponent's Pokemon, but it allows you to activate Drampa's Berserk attack, which is the most important reason. It's the reason we play that, because Drampa's Berserk attack does more damage if your own Pokemon are damaged on the bench. Choice Band is the best damage modifier in format, adding 30 damage to Pokemon EX and GX. We play 4 of those just so that we always have that damage boost for our Zoroarks and we never miss out. Float Stone gives our Zoroarks with that stand-in ability free mobility to put anybody into the active, and then the Special Charge, very useful for putting DCs and the single Rainbow that I play back into the deck so that you can keep attacking throughout the game. Finally, the energy count. We have that 1 Rainbow I talked about, just so that we can Special Charge it back in. It also puts damage onto a Pokemon in case we need to power up Drampa's Berserk attack, 5 Darkness Energy, and 4 different double Colorless. Beautiful, right? This upsets some players. They like to play uniform cards. I decided to just be a little fun for this tournament. These are the exact 4 double Colorless that I played in my 7th place list. So thank you guys for checking that out. We're going to be doing some playthroughs with this deck in the upcoming week, so look out for those and go try it out. Have some fun.